Black Council's plan to attack King's Landing at the end of 129 AC hit a roadblock. A new threat was closing in from the east, from across the narrow sea. The schemes of Otto Hightower, the former hand of the king to Aegon, had come to fruition. Meeting in Tyrosh, the High Council of the Triarchy had accepted his offer of alliance, albeit too late to save Otto's position at court. 90 warships swept from the Stepstones under the banner of the Three Daughters, bending their oars for the Gullet. As chance and the gods would have it, the Pentoshi cog Grey Abandon, carrying 2 Targaryen princes, Aegon and Viserys, sailed straight into the fleet. The escorts sent to protect the cog were sunk or taken by force. The Grey Abandon itself was captured. The news reached Dragonstone only when Prince Aegon himself arrived, desperately clinging to the neck of his small dragon, Stormcloud. The boy was white with fear, shaking like a leaf and soaked to the bone. Only 9 years of age, he had never flown a dragon before, and would never fly again, as Stormcloud had been wounded badly as he fled the Grey Abandon, arriving with stubs of countless arrows embedded in his belly and a scorpion bolt through his neck. How the small dragon reached Dragonstone is a miracle. He died within the hour as the hot blood gushed black and smoking from his wounds. A dragon died, but saved the prince's life. Aegon's younger brother, Prince Viserys, had no way of escaping from the cog, or his fate. A clever boy, he hid his dragon egg and changed ragged, salt-stained clothing, pretending to be no more than a common ship boy. But one of the real ship's boys betrayed him, and he was made a captive. It was a Tyroshi captain who first realised whom he had in his hands, but the admiral of the fleet, Sharko Lothor of Lys, relieved him of his prize. The Lyseni admiral divided his fleet for the attack. One pincer was to enter the Gullet south of Dragonstone, the other to the north. In the early morning hours of the 5th day of 130 AC, battle began. Sharko's warship swept in, with rising sun behind them. Hidden by the glare, they took many of the Lord Velaryon's galleys unaware, ramming some, swarming aboard others with ropes and grapples, leaving Dragonstone untouched. The southern fleet fell upon the shore of Driftmark, landing men at Spicetown and sending fire ships into the harbour to set ablaze to the ships coming out to meet them. By mid-morning, Spicetown was burning, while Myrish and Tyroshi troops reached the very doors of high tide, when Prince Jacaerys swept down upon a line of Lyseni galleys on Vermax. A rain of spears and arrows rose up to meet him. The sailors of the Triarchy had faced dragons before, whilst warring against Prince Daemon in the Stepstones. They knew just how to fight a dragon. No man could fault their courage. They were prepared to meet the dragon flame with such weapons as they had. Kill the rider, and the dragon will depart. The captains commanded them. One ship took fire, and then another. Still, the men of the three cities fought until a shout rang out, and they looked up to see more winged shapes coming around the dragon mount and turning towards them. It is one thing to face a dragon, another to face 5 at the same time. As Silverwing, Sheepstealer, Seasmoke and Vermithor descended upon the fleet, the men of the Triarchy felt their courage desert them. The line of warships shattered, as one galley after another turned away. The dragons fell upon them, spitting fireballs, blue and orange, red and gold. Ship after ship burst into flames, screaming men leaping into the sea, shrouded in flame. Tall columns of black smoke rose up out of the water. All seemed lost for the fleet. All was lost. Many differing tales were told afterwards of how and why the dragon fell. Some claimed a crossbowman put an iron bolt through his eye in a stroke of luck, but this version seems far too similar to the way Meraxes met her end long ago in the Sands of Dawn. Another account says the sailor in the crow's nest of the Myrish galley cast a grapple at Vermax, as Vermax was swooping through the fleet. One of its prongs found purchase between 2 skulls and was driven deep by the dragon's own considerable speed. The sailor had coiled his end of the chain up about the mast, and the weight of the ship and the power of Vermax's wings tore a long jagged gash down the dragon's belly. The dragon shrieked of rage and was heard as far off as Spicetown. His flight jerked to a violent end. Vermax went down smoking and screaming, clawing at the water. Survivors said he struggled to rise, only to catch headlong into a burning galley. Wood splinters and masts came tumbling down, and the dragon, thrashing, became entangled in the rigging. When the ship heeled over and sank, Vermax sank with her. It is said that Jacaerys Velaryon let free and clung to a piece of smoking wreckage for a few heartbeats, until some crossbowmen on the nearest Myrish ship began loosing quarrels at him. The prince was struck once, and then again. More and more Myrishmen brought crossbows to bear. Finally, one quarrel took him through the neck, and Jace was swallowed by the sea. The battle in the Gullet raged into the night. north and south of Dragonstone, and remains among the bloodiest sea battles in all of history. Jacaerys Velaryon had taken a combined fleet of 90 Myrish, Lysine and Triarchy warships from the Stepstones. 28 survived to limp home, all but 3 crewed by Lysine. In the aftermath, the widows of Myr and Tyrosh accused the admiral of sending their fleets to destruction, while holding back his own, beginning the quarrel that would spell the end of the Triarchy 2 years later, when the 3 cities would turn against each other in the Daughters' War. Though the attackers bypassed Dragonstone, no doubt believing that the ancient Targaryen stronghold was too strong to assault, they exacted a grievous toll on Driftmark. Spice Town was brutally sacked, the bodies of men, women and children butchered in the street, and left as fodder for gulls and rats, its buildings burning. The town would never be rebuilt. High Tide was put to the torch as well, and the treasures the sea snake had brought back from the east were consumed by the fire, his servants cut down as they tried to flee from the flames. The Velaryon fleet lost almost a third of its strength, thousands died, yet none of these losses were felt so deeply as that of Jacaerys Velaryon, Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne. Rhaenyra's youngest son seemed lost as well. In the confusion of the battle, none of the survivors seemed quite certain which ship Prince Viserys had been on. Men on both sides presumed him dead, drowned or burned or butchered, and though his brother Aegon the Younger had fled and lived, all the joy had gone out of the boy. He would never forgive himself for leaping onto Stormcloud and abandoning his little brother to the enemy. It was written that when the sea snake was congratulated on his victory, the old man simply said, "If this be victory, I pray I never win another."